All right, let's get into it. I started with this cardstock and I printed out my digital designs. These are my own designs. I'll link them below if you're interested in checking them out in my Etsy shop. And there are several different design packets. They come with a few pages you can use for decoupaging to do many different craft projects, as well as tags. And this page you can see as I turn it over is also included or something similar in each pack. That way you can print it out, the brown colored page first that looks like rusty, grungy old paper. And then you turn it back over, put it back through your printer, and print the tags out. Now, I personally use an EcoTake printer, the Epson. Mine's a little older, it's a 2400. I really love it. And you can print so much and literally barely touch the ink. And it's phenomenal for doing a lot of projects like this with heavy coloring and stuff. Now, the coloring may not be perfect like a photograph, and they vary from the listing depending on your printer. Anyways, I printed out all of the designs I created in the Americana patriotic style. I mean, I'm really excited to make these tags, especially this year for the 250th anniversary. I've been working on these designs for months and months, and I want to use some of them on primitive projects. I've really gotten into primitive stuff. Also, I probably should have mentioned the files that I create. They're typically like 5 pages and they're PDF files, or that's what I've been doing. And so you will get like 2 tag pages and 3 decoupage style pages. And these ones are a little bit smaller. I wanted some small ones because I like making mini pillows and basically smaller decor. And those pages are meant to look like the antique coverlets. So first I start out by just trimming the tags out. You can also use like those, I think they're called like manila tags or something like that, and just write up and draw your own wording and style or design on the tags. I also was thinking about creating some blanks so you can just do that anyway. So you start out by trimming the tags out, and at first it might look a little daunting because I'm doing like a ton of tags at once, and it seems like there's like a lot on each page, but it's really not. And I feel like it's like, I don't know if it's the right word, but it's like therapeutic, where it's like soothing and relaxing. Crafting is anyway. So if you're a crafter, you probably already feel this way, but there's something about paper crafting I feel like is in its own world, especially like getting to play with the stamps and like distressing and stuff like that. But anyways, when I did create these tags, I made them look distressed and I tried to put a distressing around the edging. That way, if you don't have ink and you don't want to mess with the stamping part, you can just cut them out and use them as they are. But I do want to add a little bit of an extra ink on there just for fun, and it'll make them look even more aged. And I've been wanting to use this ink for a really long time on these. And this is just a vintage little hole punch I'm using to punch out the hole in some of the tags, especially on these ones that are a little bit larger. Some of the tags, I made the print or the ink more gray or black. And then some of the tags, I did a lot more color. Now, I feel like the ones that are grayish, blackish are a bit more primitive looking, but I went ahead and did like a lot of colored ones just to be like really festive, especially for the 250th anniversary this year. And I also made some stars. Some have a little bit more of a primitive look to them, and hearts and other things like that, just to give a variety of styles. And they come in different sizes. I didn't make the sizes perfect to fit through any Cricut machine or any special hole punch. I just happen to have one that fits on one of the tags as a 1 inch. But I really made them just to be hand cut out. I feel like I've always really, really loved handmaids and hand making things. But I feel like nowadays, with everything out there not being that in the world quite often, that I just feel like even more drawn to doing handmade art and crafting, as well as sewing. I don't know if that's, I guess, a completely different category, but I'm obsessed with all the handmade things. And I love to create, and I've now been designing things digitally. And even that, I enjoy drawing the designs out and creating the digital stuff. But then I basically think of things that I want to put into my handmaids. If I want to do decoupaging on a little hat box or tags for a handmade rag doll or mini pillow or what have you. Anyways, so these are the designs I came up with for the Americana 250th this year, and next I'm going to be working on more fall designs. And you can see that I'm not really having a hard time cutting out the round tags. Now, I have been cutting out tags like this for a long time, and I guess my best tips are just to go slowly and use a good pair of scissors. And you can see I'm just turning the paper as I go. Well, it's actually cardstock, which I showed in the beginning of the video, and I do recommend printing them out on the cardstock. And I'll link any of those type of things below that I can think of. And I think they look really cute with the back also printed on. Now, this ink is really nice. It's this Ranger ink designed by Tim Holtz. And I feel like this is the most popular ink ever for distressing little paper crafts like this. And I'm using one of these little stamp daubers that has like a little pad you Velcro on the edge. And a little ink goes a long way. So you can always add more, but you can't really remove it. So you might want to start off just adding a little bit at a time to see how it looks and see if it's the look you want. Initially, I just put a small amount, but then I went back and just kept adding and distressing it more and more. And you can turn it over, put a little bit on the back. You can also set it down and kind of do like a smudging, swirling technique, catching the edge or putting a little across the top. But I just wanted it around the edge because when you cut the cardstock, because it is kind of thicker than a regular sheet of paper, I feel like you can kind of see that white edge just a tiny bit. You could use some coffee stain or something like that to dye your edges. You don't have to use an ink. I just thought it would be really fun to try the ink out on this project. And I made a ton, and I really want to show you like every single one, but I know like we don't have the time for that or whatever. So here's some of them. Some are much larger and some are little tiny. There's also like one of the file packets that I created. Some of them are round circles without a hole punched in them. And the reason for that is you could hole punch a hole if you wanted to in them to make a tag, or you can use them to put on like the top of a miniature hat box or on the front of a little small basket, or you could even put them on top of some other tags, glue them on a gift bag, whatever you can think of that you would want to decoupage them on. These ones, that's why they don't have a spot to show you where to punch a hole. And they're a little bit larger in size than those little small tags for that reason. And some of them have that 250 on there. I also like the thought that you could use these for like party favor gift bags. Like, let's say you're doing a party for the 4th of July and you want to give everybody a little small gift bag that you could decorate yourself. And you can tie these on with some ribbon or twine or something like that and kind of stack them on layer them on the gift bag, like from the handle or something, or staple them. You put some little popper firecrackers and trinkets for your guest or a friend or special someone. And you can write on the back of the tag a special note. You can put someone's name, whatever. So I think they're nice to use for gift making as well. You could use them as like maybe like a place setting or a tag on a drink to tell drinks apart. I don't know why I'm thinking about things for parties. And that's why these ones are just stars and a little bit more blank. Well, there's some of them have stripes, but the thought was you could layer them like this and stack them together, or decoupage a round tag or something onto the front to kind of create something more 3D or dimensional. And I think these ones are my absolute favorite, these little ones, because I just love the small handmaids so much. And I made these mostly with, it's sort of a black ink, but it's almost like gray. There are some that have colored on there. I made them look sort of all faded. I didn't want the inks to be like overly vibrant because I wanted them to feel old. So one more thing I wanted to share with you is my husband ordered these for me. I really wanted some already rusted safety pins and jingle bells, so I didn't have to mess with rusting them myself or trying to paint any kind of finish similar. And I was having a hard time deciding what size, and I went with these ones. These are a 1-inch safety pin, and I can't even remember how many were in the pack. I think it was like 100 or a couple hundred, something like that. And the same thing with the jingle bells. And you can see there's like a lot of sort of the rusty stuff in the bag, but that's kind of typical when you buy any of these, if you know from making any primitives or looking at that stuff. They typically come like that. And I did see on one of the reviews, like some lady said that she took her jingle bells and really rubbed them off on paper towels, and that it removed a lot of any excess, so that way you don't have to worry about it getting onto your project. But you just take the little safety pin and the little rusty jingle bell and you hook them on the tag like this, and then you can pin it to your primitive projects, like your mini pillow or doll that I keep mentioning, or whatever, garlands, whatever you make. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video.